Hey everyone, in Ecuador, the publication Plan V is no friend of Ecuador President Rafael Correa, particularly in its reporting regarding corruption in the Ecuador oil industry. In an article called The Chevron Files, Plan V revealed that between 1964 and 1992, the Ecuador government took steady and increased control of the oil production consortium that consisted originally of Texaco and Gulf oil in the 60s. Ecuador stepped in and over time, leading to the 80s, bought out, actually 1976, bought out Gulf oil share, and then by 1985 owned 62.5% of the shares of the oil producing consortium. Then in 1989, only the state of Ecuador, the country of Ecuador, produced oil. Texaco had nothing to do with it. And eventually in 1992, Texaco was gone entirely. So it was a case of Ecuador increasing its ownership and involvement, Texaco decreasing, and eventually leaving Ecuador. Then in 1995 and in 1998, the Ecuador government combined with Texaco to sign two agreements that basically absolved Texaco of any environmental damage cleanup liability. What's the point of all this? The point of all this is simple. First of all, Ecuador, over that period of time, took steady and deliberate steps to control oil production, to gain the majority of revenues from oil production, and then, especially since, well, Texaco had a steadily dwindling almost to nothing and then to nothing involvement in oil production, said, hey, look, you haven't really done anything, so you're not liable for any more cleanup. But then they came back, actually, and spent $40 million on environmental cleanup anyway. Then, of course, in 2001, Chevron stepped in and bought Texaco and inherited the whole problem. But the point of the matter is this. The lawsuit that Steve Donziger filed and the subsequent judgments and then the fraud and bribes all point to a case that, for all practical purposes, shouldn't have existed anyway. As I've said before, and I'll say again, this has always been a case of Ecuador polluting itself, and it should be a case of Ecuador suing itself. Stay tuned.